So let's move on to the defense, because why not? We've all but buried the offense now, because we still don't know who the wide receiver coach, who the quarterbacks coach, and all that good stuff is going to be. Hopefully we'll know soon. Anyway, defense coordinator, as we talked about before we kind of got on the stream, this is the hire you talked about, Justin, being the one of the two that you can't miss on in the Big Ten. Now, there was a lot of knee-jerk reaction, including by myself, seeing the 3-3-5 defense going, oh my goodness, how's that going to work when we're playing Iowa and Wisconsin and Minnesota in November and late October? And to be honest with you, I can't answer that question. I can't spin this with anything positive as far as what the run game on defense is going to look like. But it's not a bad hire. I think we've all kind of agreed before we got on the stream that this is kind of this is the guy we really need, or at least this is a good guy that we got, and one of the better hires that just based on looking at what he's done. Do you guys have any thoughts that you want to just throw out there, starting with you, Scott, on Tony White?
Yeah, I just think there's one of the trends that I have noticed with every single hire is the fact that they do not have Big Ten experience, and the offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield, has a little bit in the SEC, but I mean, across the board, you just don't see a lot of Big Ten experience, and this is another one of those instances. And that's my pessimistic take. I just wish that from the defensive standpoint, the defensive coordinator standpoint, the offensive line standpoint, which, I mean, you can argue Donovan Raiola has 12 games of experience now in the Big Ten, but regardless, this is one of those places where I would have expected to see, I mean, at least give me an SEC guy, or, please get me somebody with some Big Ten experience. And he just doesn't have that, which, it is what it is. But what he did at Syracuse was pretty formidable. I mean, yeah, he led back-to-back top 30 defenses from 21 and 2022. And yeah, ranked 19th nationally when it came to yards per game. And I mean, just looking at just the stats, I mean, he did some good things for the Orange, which, I mean, that's Syracuse, dude. Like they're not a perennially good team. So the fact that he was able to scrounge up a pretty nasty defense and a consistently nasty defense, I mean, I'll take it for what it's worth. At face value, pretty damn good hire. But like I said, I could be the pessimist. I can be the glass half empty guy and look at it and go, yeah, but is that going to translate to the Big Ten? Is he going to bring that mentality here where people just know that the grind is a little bit different? I will say, hey, looking at it, he was able to go from Arizona State to Syracuse, which is a completely different weather system. So if he was able to create a really good, salty and disciplined defense in, a snowy and salty state, that could translate well here. So I can look at it both ways. I'd say that he's probably one of the guys that, I think we can all agree when we first saw the name pop up on our phones or wherever we found out about the news, you were like, who, what, huh? And then you look at it and you're like, okay, what, huh? And then as you kind of dig in, as I kind of dug into it a little bit more, I was like, okay, I'm not my butthole isn't as puckered. So it's okay. It's an okay hire.
There's the visual I was waiting for. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, my butthole is wide open.
Shoot. Am I muted? No, I'm not. Hey,
nope.
There you go. Whoever wants to go next, go ahead. I'm just trying to make sure.
I'll just say I love the hire. I absolutely love this hire. This is a solid pickup. I'm not sure about this 3-3-5, but it's fine. It's going to be perfectly fine. It's so it'll work. The thing that I like about this is, and this is an underrated thing, is what do the fans of those teams? Because just take a step back, all these hires that Matt Rhule has really made, outside of maybe one or two guys, Raiola and Satterfield, I've never heard of any of these other guys. So it's kind of good to get a fan perspective from the other teams. So the fan perspective from what I've seen about like Tony White from Syracuse fans is they absolutely love the guy. And they thought that he probably should have been the head coach. So when I see things like that, it's like, I was like, wow, we really got a good one right here. If they think that highly of him, and he was a Broyles Award nominee. Syracuse, he coached that defense up pretty damn well for the level of talent that they were probably getting. I just think it's going to work at Nebraska. I think he's going to. He's by far the best hire that we have. So I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what he does here.
I'll add this. Scott, I know you talked about not having Big Ten experience. And while I would like to see some Big Ten experience, I also think there's a little bit of overratedness to it, as in the fact that, dude, at one point, Jim Leonhard had no Big Ten experience. Became one of the best defensive coordinators in the Big Ten. Ryan Walters, when he came to Illinois, had no Big Ten experience. Who's Ohio State's guy that came from Oklahoma State?
I don't remember.
Knowles.
Jim Knowles.
Jim Knowles. He had essentially no Big Ten experience. Joe Rossi at Minnesota, who's had a great defense this year, had basically no Big Ten experience. So to sit there and say that he can't be a good coach if you don't have Big Ten experience, but other teams do it all the time. There's no reason Nebraska can't do it too. I think he's a great hire. If he was hiring a rock star all-star team, this guy would probably be on the lower end normally. But after seeing everybody else he's hired, this is like this is the rock star hire.
It's all about relative information, right?
Yeah.
Relative to the dumpster fire, it's a pretty good real estate.
You look at his defense, so he runs a very. I know it's 3-3-5, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert in X's and O's, but I'll tell you this: it's an aggressive offense or aggressive defense. They try to get a lot of takeaways. They try to get some sacks. And it's going to be an exciting defense to watch, I believe.
Yeah, and Derrick, not to go on this thing, but like I think there is a difference though with the guys that you named versus Tony White when it comes to Big Ten experience. One, Jim Leonhard, yeah, I guess technically at some point in time he did have Big Ten experience, but he was basically born with Big Ten experience. I mean, with the college in the Big Ten, I think his first coaching job was in the Big Ten.
Well, then Matt Rhule was born in a Big Ten experience.
But
you can't have it both ways, Tyler.
When your first coaching job's in the Big Ten, like Jim Leonhard, everything he's done has been Wisconsin-based. And while Ryan Walters, you're right, wasn't in Illinois, he wasn't Big Ten. He came from the SEC, which is a much different conference than the ACC. So it wasn't like that. And he went to Brett Bielema, who was, again, very much in the know of how the conference needs to look. I think the thing is, Matt Rhule, I think in this staff could have benefited from getting a couple guys that had their trenches and they understood a little bit of the Big Ten week in, week out. We heard Mickey Joseph kind of talk about that when, and he was being interviewed when he was interim. Is like, man, the Big Ten is just a different league. And I think he would have benefited from guys that know what it takes to win. And if Matt Rhule had coached here for 8 years, I'd be less concerned about him bringing guys from different conferences, but he hasn't. So that's my only concern on the Big Ten thing. It'd be nice to,
I just look at it like, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. And you are right, Derrick. There are definitely a bunch of exceptions to the rule of like, what kind of experience are you bringing to a system of football? And Big Ten has its own identity with their systems. And there are some exceptions, like some dudes just have the it factor and they just show up to a place and they've got the right philosophy. They've got the right mentality. They've got the ability to coach and build players up and develop them. It's just like, if I don't know that they're the exception to that rule, then my immediate rule of thumb is to just assume that they are a part of the rule, not the exception. And so looking at this guy, it's like, well, I'm not gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to put him into the box of, well, he's either gonna be the part of the rule, and that is gonna be not be able to translate his philosophy to the Big Ten, or he's going to change my expectation and he's going to become an exception. So that's just the way I look at it. That's my, I guess, framework. That
I guess the way I look at it is when you look at what a dumpster fire Syracuse's defense was, and you look statistically how bad that defense was for the better part of 10 years before he got there. And in his first year as defense coordinator, he struggled a little bit. But that last 2 years, he had it as a top 30 defense each year.
Yep.
And I mean, that's a big improvement.
It is. And I really hope, I do really hope that translates to the Big Ten. And what I do expect to see is probably an average defense. If there's anything that I expect going into 2023, I'd say that we're not going to be overwhelmed with the defense. We're going to be like, meh. But what I do hope is that we get some development and he is able to scheme up some mad IQ points and make some shit work for us. So that's what I hope. I mean, if he's able to do that at Syracuse, I mean, sky's the limit, man. Like, come on, like EJ Barthel. I about did the Bethard thing again. If he was able to do that at UConn, then all right, sky's the limit, dude. Same thing with this guy. I mean, I'm hopeful. This is the guy that I would say that I'm the most optimistic about, but I'm still just like hesitantly, pessimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Just, I know one of the concerns I'd heard or at least seen put out there was that his defense wasn't good at the run, and we kind of talked about that before we got on the stream, that especially last year, 68th in the country against the run, but in 2021, his defense was 26th in the country against the run. So he can stop the run. Maybe there was some new players, younger players on that defense that couldn't quite grasp the concepts yet, and that's why the run defense wasn't quite as good. But anyway, you guys are nailing it. I don't have to say much because you covered everything. That's awesome. I can just sit here and run a stream. Life's good.
And listen, we're all sitting here talking about this run-heavy Big Ten, but, you got Illinois still probably going to be run-heavy, Minnesota probably. Wisconsin, I'm not so sure they're going to be run-heavy as much as they have been. They just went and hired Phil Longo for a offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. He's not a run-heavy guy. I don't know what Wisconsin's trying to do at this point, but it's not Wisconsin. It's not what they're trying to do.
They could have just taken Mark Whipple.
Phil Longo's been known to run the ball a little bit better than Mark Whipple, but
I would certainly hope so. Especially at Wisconsin, those people start losing their cheese. He doesn't figure out.
He is a little more of a pass-heavy guy. I mean, he's
right. So let's see here. Next up, we have got Mr. Terence Knighton.
Go to Tyler. Go to Tyler.
Go to Tyler. Go for it, Tyler. Let her rip, Tater Chip.
I mean, this is going to be a guy that is definitely, again, fits the mold of what a lot of these assistant coaches were. They have the NFL experience, which to me has been very evident was something very important to Matt Rhule in the coaching search. We talked about this with EJ Barthel a little bit. I think I've been impressed what he's done on the recruiting trail. It seems like he's already come out there and really hit the ground running a little bit, getting this going. Is there a coach on the staff that is more unknown than Terence? Probably not. But that's not always a bad thing, right? I mean, people are crushing Donnie because he has a little bit of experience. He's definitely a white canvas, definitely falls in the vibrant and energetic coaches that Matt Rhule has been bringing in. So, and I know I've been asked this. I have a thesaurus open for the synonyms of the same description of words that I'm just pulling out of my ass every time I'm talking about these guys. Oh, wait, maybe I do. Right. But no, I mean, what do you want to know about? I mean, like, there's just not a lot of evidence in his history.
Agreed.
Next.
This is a very awkward silence there. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh,
Something,
good Lord. Muted again.
inexperience, something, yells a lot, something.
And there's these big
NFL
stories on
coach.
recruiting. I mean,
Oops, dang it.
there's some players that seem to like him. We'll see if he actually lands some commits, but I don't know.
It's a puzzling hire. It's a puzzling
is.
hire.
It's one of those areas. It's the trenches. Like, what are we doing?
Mhm.
We've got
To
two
me,
guys.
I don't think Justin put enough emphasis on this. I think this is another hire you could not miss on. Like,
yeah, and
I
copied
agree.
and pasted. He
Your two
copied
lines.
and pasted the Donovan Raiola
This
hire.
was the first hire
your
that
two
Rhule
line
made,
coaches
and
are
I
the two
went,
that you
"Wow.
cannot miss on.
Why did we go here? Knighton was the first one that I went. I get the NFL experience. I get the whole
He legit has the exact same resume that Donovan Raiola had last year.
exactly same resume.
No, that's not fair. Raiola's experience was better. He was at least a GA at Notre Dame. Like, I mean, he had 3
At
years
least Terence Knighton was an actual D line coach at an FCS school.
What was Aurora? I don't remember.
Raiola? He
No,
was like
Aurora,
a Division 3.
Okay, but I'm not going to nitpick. What I will say,
Knighton wasn't. He was at Wagner.
what I'll say about Terrence though, in another plus category for him. I mean, this is a guy that literally just came off the staff with Matt Rhule. Like, and you guys point out this was the first public hire that was made. Again, I don't know if it actually was, but the first. So this is a guy that you got to believe Matt Rhule is like, man, when I get my next job, I need pork chop. Is it pork chop? Pork something?
It's pot roast and
pot
mutton
roast.
chop.
Pot roast.
Mutton chop.
Pork
Mutton
chop
chop.
was Corey Ross, wasn't it?
Pork chop was
Mhm.
Corey Ross. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you got pot roast.
And I mean, I've seen video of him talking to his defensive line in the NFL. I mean, he was coaching them up. I mean, there was nothing to slam on the guy.
It gets me hard.
It's just the lack of experience.
I'm just saying, with a nickname like
Right.
pot roast, like I mean that's a
You
future
call
Hall
it
of
chicken
Famer.
pot pie for all I care.
That's a great nickname. Can we,
I
can we
like,
do that for can we
sweet
do that for
potato
Donnie?
pie.
Is Donnie
Sweet
our
potato
little
pie.
chicken pot pie?
No.
Ugh.
No. God damn.
Well, all
No.
right.
mutton chop.
Before this completely descends into what we ate tonight, move on to the defensive backs coach and Evan Cooper. What again? Temple is that connective tie to Rhule for sure. Played DB from 2006 2009. I believe Rhule was there as some sort of an assistant at that point. GA at Temple in 2013. Director of External Operations 2014. Director of Player Personnel 2015 2016. So he was there the entire Rhule tenure, as well as with him at Baylor for most of the time he was at Baylor. So what are we thinking? I know recruiting coordinator, that's a big one. You see a lot of recruiting bona fides with all of these guys, and few of them have been considered recruiting coordinators at past stops. So it seems, doggone it, there I go again. It seems Rhule is putting an emphasis on guys that have a lot of experience out there recruiting and heading up recruiting departments. So I'll start with you, Derrick. What do you think of Evan Cooper?
Okay, here's another one. When we hired him, I'm like, okay, I can deal with it. I'm not overly happy with it, but I can deal with it. But the more I get to know him, the more I'm starting to read about him, the more I'm seeing about him. I like the guy. I think he's going to be a good recruiter. He's done some. I mean, he's not completely inexperienced. He coached cornerbacks at Baylor. He's got some experience. He's not a ton, but I think his recruiting is going to come around. I think he put 2 or 3 top 35 classes at Baylor together. I like the guy. It took me a little bit to come around to him, but I like him.
I love the hire. I think it's a solid hire from what he's did at Baylor, and he wasn't an assistant secondary coach at Carolina. He was the DB coach at Carolina. Solid hire. I love what he's doing on the recruiting trail right now. He's everywhere. He's talking to everybody. I think he's doing his thing, and he's one of the better coaches that Matt Rhule has hired. And I think we're in great hands with him doing his thing.
Yeah. I'll jump. I'm sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's he is definitely a coach. It's kind of you have to look pretty hard to find a lot of information about him. It's scattered everywhere.
It's not like some of the guys where they don't even have a wiki page, though, right?
Well, I mean, I think Evan is one of those. I can't find.
Yeah, he doesn't have a wiki page.
Nope.
He doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. There's. It took me a little bit to find information about him. I think were we going to, after we go through all of the coaches, rank them? Was that our idea? Like, not rank them, but best, sleeper.
We're doing some superlatives. Yep, we're
underwhelming.
doing superlatives at the end.
Yeah,
At
we're
the end.
doing, yeah.
Very well. Then I will
The
save
one we're
that.
most excited about, the one that we're curious to see what happens, and the one that we're not.
Yes, he falls into one of those categories. I'll let you guys guess which one it is, but yeah, I think he has really good potential to be a pretty dang solid secondary coach.
I just want to go back to something that Tyler was talking about earlier with maybe bringing Ed Foley to coach the tight ends and bringing in another defensive assistant. Maybe defensive backs is a place where you start. Now that you're running a 3-3-5 and you're going to have 5 defensive backs back there, maybe having a cornerbacks and a safeties coach ain't such a bad idea.
Yeah.
Sure. I got you. Well, next up.
Oh, and he's got a good looking beard too. There we go.
Dang, Skippy. Then you got a linebackers coach who's not yet officially listed or announced at this point, but this is the name everybody's talking about, so I threw him in there. Played at Temple. Imagine that. Coached at Baylor. Wow, that's a shock. And all that good stuff. So, Rob Devore, I think he was, if I remember right, all conference or something like that, and then had a career-ending injury. So, lettered 2 years, all that good stuff. So he knows kind of how the rule blueprint looks. So and of course, not much of a wiki. I didn't see much of a Wikipedia thing, at least not on his coaching. So, same pedigree. Seems to have.
You didn't find anything because he hasn't really done any coaching. You didn't find anything because he hasn't done any coaching.
No,
This might be the most
summarized
puzzling hire out of all of them.
It could be summarized in 3 statements that On3 put into the coaching hire tracker, which is Carolina defensive assistant, played for Rhule at Temple, not officially announced yet by Nebraska.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
pretty much
perfect
covered.
summary.
I think he's 32 years old. I mean,
I think I can speak for probably most of us when I say we're hoping it doesn't officially get announced.
We'll see. I mean,
I don't know. I don't understand why you would take this guy over Barrett Rude.
Because this guy is dynamic. He is spirited, animated. He has all the things you want in an up and coming coach. Like,
he could be developed as a motherfucker.
Yeah, development.
I just don't get it. I mean,
I'm with you, Justin. I do not understand.
I really hope that next year we just blow the freaking wheels off of the Big Ten and we can just sit there with our hands on our cocks and be like, well, I'm glad that we were just a bunch of dicks.
Weren't we wrong?
And I hope I am wrong.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong so badly.
And hey, he can have a babysitter because White's coached linebackers quite a bit too. So.
And he's like my age, and I still need.
Let me put it this way:
so.
if you play the game of taking the last staff, the 2021 Husker staff, and the 2022 staff, and the future 2023 staff, and you put them side by side, and you look at those parallels, it's like, play better, same, or worse at that game. There's no bigger drop off from a coach going from Barrett Rude to this guy. There's no.
You are wrong. We are about to get to the biggest gap, but no, that is Bill Bush to Ed Foley is like Tom Osborne to Scott.
And
Frost.
that is bullshit, Tyler, and you know that. But there is no bigger drop off going.
I hope you bite your tongue. You speak devil of Ed F and Foley.
Yeah.
All right, since we're there.
Wait. Am I wrong though? I mean,
no, you're wrong. This is the biggest gap.
Wrong.
The rest of you guys are rational, right? So
no, I'm full of shit.
No, let's talk about Mario Verduzco. I'm sorry, Ed Foley. I'm gonna get that wrong a couple times because that's exactly what we just hired as MV 2.0. The 27-year-old vet that had never actually coached any big football is Mario Verduzco 2.0, except he was actually at Rutgers, which Ed Foley can't speak to. So so Ed Foley is a lot of experience. So I have to get a different page up for Ed Foley because he doesn't fit the mold of the rest of the staff of NFL assistants that are young, vibrant. Ed Foley is experienced.
He's the old fart.
He is kooky.
Yep.
And yeah, he's gonna be our special teams coach. We had Bill Bush. Now we have Ed Foley.
And he led the league, or it was the top. What Justin? You're all he was to Justin. Justin, tell him some stats.
So, I mean, if you want to talk about block kicks, he was the special teams coach from 2013 to 2018. He was in the top 10 in blocked kicks 4 out of those 6 years. Freaking huge, right? Punt returns and kick returns. I mean, I'm doing the math in my head here. 5, 6, 7, 8 punt return TDs over that time. And another 3 kick returns for TDs.
Something we haven't seen in Nebraska in years.
Yeah.
Nope.
Punt coverage was solid for most of the years. Kickoff coverage. I mean, he was just a solid dude. Sean Callahan, if you like group up all of the special teams categories and put it up there, it's like 4 of the 5 years he was top 25. 4 of the last 5 years he was top 25 in all of special teams. He coached in 2018. He had coached the AAC Special Teams Player of the Year he's a punt returner. I forget his name, Isaiah something. But and then in 2016 he had an all-conference kicker. I mean, he's done some really good things. And as bad as Nebraska special teams have been over the last however long, this year they were actually good. But there's no drop off. There's no drop off from what Bill Bush had done up until Tyler. So for the people just listening, Tyler is absolutely hateful for Uncle Ed for whatever reason.
I don't hate Uncle Ed.
He's waving his arm.
I think his SNL skit is hilarious when he is telling people to live in the van down by the river. I think it's I think he's hilarious. He's a cartoon character. I find it like
who cares
wait,
if he can coach football and he does it well. It looks like he can scheme one hell of a special teams attacking
so well that he's had exactly the same amount of Power 5 jobs as all of us.
Does that matter? Why does that matter?
When you've been a coach for 25 years and no one has given you a shot to be a special teams coordinator in a Power 5, yeah.
How do you know nobody's giving him a chance? How do you know he didn't just want to stay at Temple? Maybe
because he left Temple and he left Temple to go be an assistant special teams coach in Carolina.
He did eventually, but he stayed at Temple under 2 or 3 coaches.
I think it was 2. I mean,
at least 2.
He's been coaching for 32 years. He was
there for all of Matt Rhule's time, and he was there for all of Jeff Collins' time.
That was 10 years. He was at Temple for 10 years, and he's coached for 32 years. There's 22 years he could have got some experience.
There's a lot of guys that you can knock, Tyler. This is not one of those guys.
No, he is right in the middle of the pack. You're right.
You want to judge a book by his cover and say, "Oh, I can laugh I can laugh at his fat face and his big glasses. He's an old fucker, so I can sit here and laugh at him."
Yeah,
so
that's
it. Be a good coach. That's all you got. That is all you have. He's a cartoon character. He is a cartoon character.
I do not know what I missed. I do not know what I missed, but
I need the popcorn gift.
I had my headphones off and was like approximately 20 feet away from my computer, and I could hear you guys rambling from across the room on my headphones.
I just think that we had Bill Bush. Like, I guess that's my thing. If we didn't have Bill, if we still had the special teams coach that we had 2 or 3 years ago, that would be different. But we had a guy.
And look, I would take Bill Bush back too. Like I'm not saying I would. I'm not saying this is a huge step forward from Bill Bush. I'm not saying that. You're saying that's a huge drop off.
It's Tom
When
Osborne.
you talk about drop off, I'm talking Mike Dawson to Knighton, Phil Knighton, whatever the hell his name is.
Terence Knighton. Phil Knighton.
Pot roast. Just call him pot roast.
Pot roast. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a guy that had NFL experience and Power 5 experience and multiple years experience to a guy that coached for friggin' Wagner. And you want to talk about this is the biggest drop off?
Yeah.
Go jump off a bridge with no water at the bottom.
He hasn't actually been a special teams coordinator since 2018.
Hey, we got a sub out of the deal.
Shit.
I am rooting for Uncle Ed. I hope he does well. I think that there's something telling when you haven't been an actually full-time coach since 2018. Like,
he's been following Matt Rhule around.
Yeah, and Matt Rhule hasn't given him a full-time position coaching job.
Maybe he doesn't want one. Maybe he just wants to be.
And now he does?
Maybe
could he not want one?
Maybe he's doing it as a favor to Matt Rhule. You don't know.
I don't know. I love this hire. I think
it's a great hire. I do.
He's in the top 3 for me.
He's definitely a hire. That is for sure.
Jesus, Scott, you're. I tell you what, Scott, you are like more pessimistic than what I was underneath the Scott Frost regime, right?
That's what this year did to me, man. I am a broken soul.
I am.
Everything
shocked.
Hurts. My cock has never been so soft before.
You can tell we played Cards Against Humanity last night for sure. Oh my goodness.
Well, I have that effect on men.